We're going to have another look at another exciting video camera. This one is JVC Color Video Camera, PAL version. It's model number GX-N7, and we did briefly have a look at this in a previous video when we were looking at JVC portable VCRs and other JVC video cameras. You see, this is interesting. It's got a removable lens, somewhat removable, and so the magic of having two of them, we can be not too precious about taking one apart. This one here is definitely in better condition. Let's have a look at the sort of things it has. It's got a TV zoom lens, 1 to 1.2, 8.5 to 51 millimeters, and a macro setting. It's got power zoom by these buttons here, and autofocus with some sensors. I think that's a white balance sensor perhaps there, and autofocus sensor, a lens cap. There's a microphone there which can be unplugged, and maybe you can use that as an external microphone input. I'm not sure about that. It has a switch there, but I was wondering, what is that? So it says S and M. Presumably that means stereo and mono, a setting for the microphone. There's some kind of cold shoe there. The viewfinder connects with this little cable, and it can be manipulated into this up position or down to this interesting position, possibly so that if you change the lens you can mount it on a microscope or telescope. Perhaps just thinking about the possibilities here. I had a brochure somewhere which showed all the stuff that this can do, I think. I don't know, I'm not sure where that is now. There's unfortunately a lot of things have been shuffled about. So that pulls out so you can get a bit more magnification, and it goes back in eventually. So on the side we have switches that are very similar to the other JVC cameras that we looked at. There's auto, manual, iris, that would be iris stuff there, manual, and then there's this adjuster which sounds like it might be the same mechanical one that we saw. Yeah, you can see it in there, opening and closing. Yeah, so that's a similar mechanical approach. Auto iris, and then there's like a zero or gained up a bit, like a bit more sensitive perhaps, a bit more wide open, probably for backlight compensation. And there's focus. I presume that means focus. It's two arrows pointing in towards a bar, probably the focal plane. Auto, momentary auto, manual in the middle, you have to turn that yourself, and then full auto all the time. And then there's be white balance auto indoors, yellowy light outdoors, white blue light, that switch, maybe that's for setting white balance, maybe, and that, which I think was the fade in and out that we had seen on another camera. Zoom, wide angle, telephoto buttons up there, the record start stop switch, no other controls, and then there's a cable, then there's a connector there for the cable, because it's just a video camera. There's no power source in this, and there's no recording device in there. You need to get the camera cable, plug it into there, and then connect this up to your portable VCR, like this one for example. Portable video recorder, VR40 Canon brand, and you see it has a camera connector on the side. So, and you put your battery in there, and away you go with your camera and your recorder to do exciting video recordings. Or you've got an alternate option. You can grab a camera AC adapter which has a good 10-pin plug on the front of it, and then let's plug that into power, and then the output, video and audio output, comes from here, so you can connect that up to your VCR or just a monitor or whatever. So let's do that. Let's plug this in, bearing in mind that since this is Japan, AC 100 volts only, not 110 or 120, because you could saturate the transformer. So make sure, I say this every time because it's important, make sure you plug your 100 volt appliances into a 100 volt supply, otherwise bad things will happen. Not guaranteed to happen, but may happen. We'll hook up this output so that we can try it out. Onto this. Alright, and we'll get up I think we already know this camera because we tried it previously, but let's just do it here for fun. Let's see, switched on. Look at that. Excellent working condition video camera. Except the zoom's not functioning, and it makes a little humming noise. Yeah, I think the belts are no longer functioning in there. Is that white balance? Maybe. Not sure about that. Manual iris. Great. Look at that. The viewfinder is in good functioning condition, as you can see. That's good. That's a good camera. Let's try out the other one. See if this one is in good order too. It's an interesting plug there. It seems to be, I thought it was some weird non-standard thing, but it probably is, but it is made by Hyros. It's got the HRS logo on it, so I guess you can custom order things. Who wants standardization? Although this is pretty nice because it mounts in nice and flat and sort of out of the way. It's probably not going to get snapped off too easily. Oh, there's a lens cap. No. Oh no, it might just be manual iris. No. Well, the viewfinder is doing stuff, but no picture on this. Iris is definitely open. There's no noise coming from the lens either. You can hear it trying to turn the lens for focusing. Guessing there's some kind of problem with this one. So we'll take this one apart. Alright, let's do it. It is a nice connector. Unfortunately, like a lot of these multi-core cables, this is very sticky and nasty to touch. And that's sort of happened in the last 10 to 20 years. They've just started returning to oil, going back to their original form. Okay, let's have a good go at this thing. Oh, that's been tied on differently. See, originally it had like a little loop thing on it, but this one must have broken off and someone's just tied a knot to get it back on there. The reason why I wanted to lift that up is there are some panels there. We'll see what that does to start off with. See, it's been made with big slots in it, like you can open it with a coin without needing any actual screwdrivers. Ah, look at that. That one's come off, but hasn't done anything. Okay, so to get that to pull up that panel, it's pulled out some connectors there. And now this lens turns. So it was only held on, or maybe that screw there stops the lens turning. Yeah, okay. So that's why no panel comes off there. That's just what locks the lens in place. There's a little cable assembly coming off of it with normal like JST plugs, but they've been held in this little metal bracket thing so they can be pulled in and out by taking this panel on and off. That's pretty interesting. Made in Japan. With the autofocus adjustment thing under that little tiny panel. Microphone. See into where the tube is. Okay, let's start pulling bits off. And presumably we need a very small screwdriver. Yeah, it feels like this number 0 is what we need. It's interesting that the viewfinder can come off there, but it's got these different holes, but I think it can only use that. I'm not sure if you could move that to other positions. Interesting, it doesn't come off completely, you have to undo these. Pretty nice styling with these white panels. It's like the other JVC video cameras that we're looking at. I think that this model here is probably the last one in this series of JVC consumer video only, like video camera only. Got a bunch of JVC camcorders that we take a look at, and also a couple of professional JVC video cameras. We'll get through all that eventually. We're on a JVC looking at stuff festival at the moment. I think there's some like standard home style normal VCRs to poke about with as well. At least one. Oh yeah, look, this top part is starting to come off. Oh yeah, it pushes back. Does that go all the way around? Oh, look, there's a little thing there. Oh, I think that exposes the switch for the record selection polarity. I guess, does that go the whole way around? I don't know, look at that, it just pulls up. So that's various clips. Ah, look, and there was metal under there where the viewfinder was attached. Oh, that button is falling apart. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's very nice. Satisfying to push buttons for the zoom control. Very satisfying. I think this part has its own model numbers. I don't know, maybe it's that there. That's CZ1018. Oh yeah, look at that. There's the hole that was securing the lens. Yeah, you can see it there. That spring-loaded screw. Is that an earphone socket? No, that's a trim pot. Maybe that adjusts the brightness of the CRT, maybe? Don't know, I think that would all be in here. Let's see, this cover probably comes off. Yep. Look at that tiny little thing. That was glued on and it's ripped off now. You can see there that someone has pointed at the sun because there are little burn marks all around it and on this part. So it's because the lens there of the viewfinder that magnifies the screen size will magnify the sun and concentrate it into a little dot and then burn. So yeah, be careful with that. Be careful about that. Watch out for that when you're waving your video camera around outside. You get into a bit of bother. Ah, look at that. Always the way, isn't it? A couple of screws under a cold or hot shoe. Whether or not those are involved in holding down the housing, it's hard to know. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Looks like they were in this case. Tripod screw thread on the bottom. Nice into die-cast housing, which is probably part of that. Okay. Oh, look at that. Coming apart. Oh. That white part there appears to be like a metal part, aluminum, over the plastic. That's cunning. Oh, that there, grounding things. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a metal tape, foil tape, so it can reach that part for grounding. And there's also a wire soldered on going to that part, which means it's grounding on that cold shoe there. So everything stays at the same potential. And there's some date markings in this here. Looks like it's 85. What is that? It's probably 2 months per dot. So it's a bit over halfway through 1985. So this thing will be like coming up to 39, 40 years old. Pretty exciting. Well, it looks like exactly 40 years old now. Yeah, good going. Buttons. The top of that switch. More nice buttons. See what's going on there? Looks like a card frame, and that's the edge connectors. That's exciting. Let's go on this other side. I think we take this bracket off. There's a whole bunch of other connectors on the front there. And JVC not shy for using a different screw for every single thing, as we've seen through all of the JVC cameras that we've taken apart so far. Yeah, well, that's good. That bracket screws right into the die cast part. Guessing that's just a little cover strip. Same with this top bit. Interesting, the lens mount is just two plates, probably made of stainless, something hard. And just a little cover thing there. Oh, there's a screw there. Probably we got to undo the two screws each side of that connector, because that would be nice and rigid, so that when you're yoinking on the cable and tripping over it, you're not putting stress on where this connector probably solders onto a PCB. Wow, look at that. The start stop button, little board there, and then some wires that plug in at the back. I think this is quite a little bit more elegant design than the other JVC cameras that we were taking apart. Maybe this one's newer. Bias light, there's controls for it. Everything's nice and compact. Well, everything's like densely, although there's no CRT viewfinder part in here. It's its own module. Look at that same copper box thing, or at least a similar one that we've seen in the other cameras, is here. But now it's got this bracket spot welded onto it, so it doesn't have that tab coming out the lid to mount it. A nice little unit there. I was checking the smell of this, see if we can detect the really bad capacitors. That's a nice compact unit for a video camera. Does that unplug? No, I think that's been soldered in. That presumably stereo mono switch for the for the microphone viewfinder connected there. I think this top board is the high voltage power supply, maybe? I don't know, it's got that block there and some thickish looking wires. Let's see, we can probably take that off separately. I'll take it off now. Does that hinge out? Oh yeah, it does. It's got those connectors on it that so that you can assemble your board flat, like laid out in a panel, and then there's connectors that bridge across the two parts, and then you break them off and fold it in half. I think that's what those are. They just don't open up the whole way, potentially. Or maybe there's something else holding it. Oh, there, a grounding wire. That's what's stopping it from opening out the whole way. Was stopping it. Yeah, there you go. You can see them. Those white things there, it's like a jumper link thing which you put across like panel boundaries there. And then, it looks not very straight. Maybe that's just how it rolls. And then, like, V-scored maybe? Possibly V-scored down there. Probably is. Yeah, so the board just gets scored, like partially cut through on both sides. Put the connector across, and when it comes to test it, all laid out flat like that, so it's easy to test. And then when you come to assembly, it just breaks through the V scoring and saves on wiring and connectors and things, and saves on bad connections, because yeah, that's soldered on both sides and it's a springy thing between them. Just noticing how dodgy that looks there. Maybe it's just flux from touching up something. But yeah, that definitely is the high voltage power supply under that metal thing. Yeah, high voltage comes out, some other voltages, like focus and brightness adjustments. That trimmer looks a bit munted. I think it might be just angled. So the pickup tube's in there. You can see the end of it there. Connector on the end. It's got a nice little PCB. That's pretty nice. And then a little insulating cover thing. Presumably something here is defunct, not working. And front of the pickup tube where the image is pulled off goes into that box there, which will have the preamp stuff on it. and that's all soldered closed. So now this thing here, which I thought was a card frame down the bottom, well, it is cards, but look, they're just directly soldered into the board. So unfortunately, without a lot of work, we're not going to be able to get those out and look at them. That's a bit unfortunate. If they wanted to use connectors, then they wouldn't have been able to pack so much stuff into the small space, because it would have, the connectors would have taken up a bunch of room. But what they've done is used cunning little tiny wire thing. See that there? It's just like little pins bent over. They get soldered on one side and soldered on the other. There's no actual connector, it's just little wire link thingies, so it takes up barely any space. Wow, that does not want to come out. I wonder why. Special power supply thing? Yes, so unfortunately we won't be able to look in all these boards unless we snap them off. Let's see if we can get into the end of one and then we can sort of bend the others out of the way. You know, not really that upset about doing it because I've got another camera like this same model that still works. We'll keep that one in good condition. Okay, the picture tube is coming out. Okay, so, and look at that, the signal coming off the tube amplified in there, comes out these wires here, goes into that board, and that just unplugs nicely. Everything's just so good and easy. Alright, now remember it said bias light, which usually is around the base of the pickup tube. In this case I'm wondering if it's up here. It would be kind of more where you'd think it would be in the first place. Maybe the light just reflects up there. Okay, deflection coils in there, and they all go to that nice connector. And that is presumably the light, and then it's just that quite large kind of capacitor thing. I think that's a capacitor. It's just a really high voltage one. So it says 4951 maybe? Not exactly sure. Just wondering if we can get that box open so we can have a poke about inside it. We'll probably just take the whole tube out as well. Let's see. Okay. Nice bit of stuff there. Yeah, interesting that the lens mount. Oh, let's see. It's got a little like shim thing with a little springy tab bit on it. Interesting. You get a nice hold the lens nice and firm so it's not rattling around. Yeah, so that's a casting alloy die cast, and then it's had some machining on it here to get that surface nice and flat, and the mounting's nice and flat. Tripod thread which has a, is it a helicoil screwed into it to reinforce the thread so it doesn't rip out, so you can see where it ends there. I think that's what it's called. Helicoil. Yeah, once you put those in, the tool which like winds it in there, and then because it's trying to spring out, it won't come out unless you can somehow grab that end and pull it back the other way. Anyway, that's just a thing. Yeah, it does look like it, doesn't it? Bias light. Let's open that up and have a look in there. It's just clipped together. Oh, it's actually light bulbs, wow. And a piece of glass. Is that the IR filter? Maybe. It doesn't have that standard blue color which you see. Maybe I think that's the IR filter in there. But yeah, look at that. It's like two presumably light bulbs with a blue filter over them. I want to juice this up, just see. Let's try it out. What do you reckon? 13 volts? Maybe not. Let's start with quite a low voltage and see if this thing lurches into action. Oh, there's capacitors. Yeah, look at that. That's 8 volts. Probably doesn't need to run very hard. Yeah, there's tiny little filaments in there. Remember the light bulbs with filaments? Interesting. Wasn't expecting to see that. Now, can we get this little box apart? I think that's just the lid, isn't it? And then there's the strap there that holds the tube in position. Now, we're going to have to pry this open. Like tear the solder joint open. Well, we hoped. Okay, and then the same on this side. There we go, look at that. Good stuff in there. I think the active components will be on the bottom side. It's probably got some FETs in there. Sensitive FETs. It says preamp on the board, and it says TG, which we target where the tube, the rim on the front edge of the tube makes contact with that pin. Little spring. Okay, I'll undo this strap. It should mean that the tube can pop out. Well, be forced out. It's an Matsushita S4250, made in Japan. Possibly got some air in it. That the getter, is it? It's got that stuff on it that will make it go white if air gets in there. So you can tell it's not terribly white, so I don't know if that indicates that it's wrecked. Yeah, it looks like it's got an integrated IR filter on it. See, that's like glued onto the end, and yeah, that metal rim there is where the signal gets picked up from. Interesting, but possibly ruined. It could be that where the pins come through the glass, it's not making a good connection maybe, or not quite pinched off very well. It would be something that's very slow and taken years, because it would have been working originally. So there's deflection coils in there, and then lots of shielding and tape and things holding it all together. Guessing that you need to take this board off, and then there'll be screws holding this plate down onto that like alloy bit. Probably, not sure. Look, there was a bit of wire coming out. Wow, that's soldered on quite well, aggressively. Yeah, there's a big tab with a generous amount of solder holding it down. Great. Okay, it was just, yeah, it is actually that tab there that was holding this on was not broken off, and then this insulator taped down. There you go, look at that. There are the deflection coils. There's a little temperature thingy there, I think that's like a PTC or NTC type device for thermal limitationing. Another insulating layer on that with various tape and things. Look at that, deflection coils coming off. Quite aggressive tape. Yeah, so that's one direction. One of the directions. X or Y, or horizontal or vertical. The wires are getting broken easily. And then there's another layer of insulator. And then there's the same thing again, but it's like 90 degrees out from the first set. And they're slightly smaller. And then under it there's just like a shielding kind of thing. You can sort of see there, like a flexible PCB, like under there. That's also wrapped around. Not really sure what that does. The service manual might tell us. Look at that. There it is. There's the inner coils. And then there's this thing that is some kind of, I'm not really sure. I don't know what that is. It has one connection. Maybe, I think it's ground. Yeah, so it's a kind of shielding thing. Pretty interesting. Okay, I wonder if we can get this little box open. See what goodies are inside that. Little power regulator thing. Yeah, it could be this thing that was cooked. Because, yeah, sealing your electronics up in a tiny little box. Sealing your switching power supplies up in a tiny little box with no ventilation. Like, not typically a wise thing to do, especially when it contains electrolytics. So look at that, some bottom side service mount. One of the wires comes through a hole. That's the yellow wire there. Comes through a hole, solders over to there. Oh, look at that, and the white one goes over the top. So there's some like SIL package IC in there, and then there's a couple of transistors, and 3 inductors there, 4 possibly, if that's also an inductor. 105, 6, because those orange things are inductors. They'll have filters on the outputs involving inductors and capacitors. Diode, so it looks like it's a dual switch mode buck converter type thing. It smells okay, but you never know. It's like Nippon Chemicon caps, the little logo there. So decent capacitors. Tantalum's on that thing, but yeah, it's interesting. That's what's in the box. Now, is this the final part? No, we've got to look in the viewfinder. That's going to be the final part. The high voltage business up here. Sticky shielding plates. A lot of surface mount parts down there. All the trimmers. Look at that. There's so many things to adjust. Covered in adjustments. So looking at these caps. Are they Matsushita brand or Panasonic caps? Maybe? Not sure. They've got the same logo on them as that, which is Matsushita tube, so maybe that's what the caps are as well. Ah, spying things, look at that. There are surface mount caps on these boards. That's probably why it doesn't work, because those things are not known for their reliability. Yeah, look at that. The input connector is PCB mount, right angle. Just wondering, do we get these out so we can inspect them properly? It's not going to work, is it? See, that's got the connectors in the way. Oh yeah, those there are the connectors that the lens plugged into. So they won't bend that way because of the pins. They need to bend that way. But that one's blocked because of those connectors there. So I guess we could, if we're destroying this thing, we might as well do a good job of it. We pull the plastic housing off those connectors, then it will allow the boards to fold over further, a little bit further. But there's a switch in the way, the little switch. The switch got out of the way. Sorry for destroying this nice thing, but here we go. So there's the input connector. It's got little latching spring things which go into the dents there, so that's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice thing. Then we've got what's presumably another switch mode power supply in a box. Seems to be a lot of those going around. At least this one's easier to open, although it only opens to the back side of it. But we can see very interesting things in there. It's got a guard trace all around the edge, which is soldered to the can, and it's got an edge-mounted PCB in there. So there's quite a bit of business going on in that thing. Oh, and then that's soldered around the other way. Now the next board, it's got a square-shaped IC on it. Some surface-mounted electrolytics, probably wrecked. An insulator sheet. Oh, look, that's another one that's got a board edge mounted into it. Bunch of surface mount parts on the bottom, and then a whole bunch of chokey things and trimmers on the top. ICs. Next board. A whole bunch more surface mount parts on the bottom. Electrolytic caps, ICs, trimmers on the top. Next board. Heaps of bodges, look at that, the wires going all around it. And then quite a large IC there. More trimmers. Next board. A lot of surface mount parts on the bottom, including bodges, bodge wires. And then more ICs and heaps more trimmers. Staggered trimmers, so you can get in there, get down to the other ones. Wow. Next board, heaps more surface mount parts on the bottom, and then another big Hitachi IC, trimmers, capacitors, inductors. Next board, some surface mount parts on the bottom, edge mounted board there. Oh, that's just to mount that, which is like a trimmer inductor thing, choke. And then next board, surface mount parts on the bottom, and yeah, that's where the video signal comes in. It's got a Mitsubishi chip there, and then the board that goes to the lens. And that, all the good things. We probably didn't ruin it, we just, well, not much. Just removed the insulating sheets. Interesting, this is very hard to service because what if you want to probe something that's in here? Just beam them out? No, you can't do that. You'd have to desolder it. You'd have to desolder that, which won't be easy. Pull the board out, solder some wires onto your points of interest, then solder it back in, power up the camera, take a measurement, realize it's not what you want, turn it off, desolder it, pull it out, take off your wires, put them somewhere else, or get an extender thing. So you'd solder like a little ribbon cable about that long in there, and then onto that. It's a huge amount of work to do all that stuff. Yeah, see, if they were getting connectors, then you could just get an extender board that you just plug in line with the board to bring it out. But they're not connectors. So, yeah, restoration of this camera would be extremely difficult. But yeah, you can just see they are just wire links coming down, soldered in. Pretty interesting. And yeah, it's double-sided surface mount board with through holes again. It's also plated through and proper plated through. Looks like it's fiberglass. Nice unit. Good as new. Alright, viewfinder time. Let's see, how do you get into this thing? Ah, there are some very small screws there and there. We'll try taking those out. Is that enough? Looks like there's some tape there. Maybe that's covering up another screw. No, it's covering up some trimmers, which will be the focus, brightness, and contrast. And there's a little bung there. What's under that? Another trimmer. Okay, so it's more than just focus, brightness, contrast. Maybe it's got a vertical lock. Ah, no. Okay, look at that good stuff in there. Ah, another one of those exciting things. Oh yeah, one of those exciting things. Ah, little lens assembly for the LEDs. Oh, look at that. LEDs are on the board there, and then there's like a light pipe thing. Then there is this light pipe. Reflects the light out to the front, where it would show up in those little dots there on that sheet to indicate low brightness, like low light level, and other annoying things that happen when you have a video camera. Oh, the tally light was there too, so you could tell if you're recording or not. Now, around the edge of the tube is a band holding it down, but it's like completely rusty. Wow, it's like fully rusted out. Interesting. Not really sure why it would be some trapped moisture. It does look like the front of the tube has got a kind of rubbery thing around it. Maybe that was like moistury hydroscopic. Yeah, I think because it was a rubbery thing, it's just fully like molded itself into place and it's not going to budge now. It's turned back to mush. Yeah, rusty little bracket. What a high amount of leverage on this dangerously high vacuum tube. Okay, it's de-mushed itself out of that. Yeah, so that's the front of the CRT, the viewfinder. Little tiny round CRT. And here's the thing that drives it. So there's a chip that does most of the heavy lifting there. Heavy lifting. It has the sync separator and drivers, horizontal, vertical drivers, the video decoder thing, all in there. And you can see again, it's a board that had V-score, and they soldered that little bracket thing across it. And it's got little teeth on it and then little holes on the other side, so when you put it together, it'll click together nicely like that. So it will cause the product to stay assembled, well, in the right direction. A very neat little thing. Yeah, so all the connections to the back of the tube, and then the deflection is here with those wires. And then, yeah, some kind of like rubbery, yeah, it's gone completely solid. Strap holding that on. Yeah, there's tape though. It's squished the deflection coil into this tape, or the plastic mounting bit for it, so that would have to be like prized off of the surface of the glass to release it. So there's the deflection coils, again hidden by layers of shielding and things, but they'll look very similar to the camera pickup tube ones, like that, under layers of tape and insulating sheet. And we don't really need to pull this apart again, do we? Especially as the tape keeps ripping. Yeah, that's the deflection coils. Here's a little CRT. And this is again a Matsushita one. It's an M01JGU9WB. Little tiny black and white CRT. I just wanted to open that up to see if it had got any air in it. Nice! Well, there you go. There's your fairly comprehensive look inside all the little bits and pieces. All the good stuff. 2 tubes. Here's your look inside the JVC color video camera model GX-N7. And from the magic of having 2 of them, we got to keep one that's still working and have a good go with the one that's not working. We'll have this back together in no time and fully operational. Till next time, we'll take another look in. Stay tuned, we'll take a look in some other thing. Presumably another JVC thing, perhaps a VCR, maybe more cameras. I don't know, it'll be a surprise. Till then,